Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share a sepia tone ink exploration with you. I have 6 sepia tone inks or inks that are sold as sepia tone. And I have already swatched these inks on a few different papers. However, I figured I would swatch the inks that I have in my collection, which are all ink bottles, into my ink journal with you. And then while those are drying, I will move over to my Commonplace planner or journal that I have, and in which I've been recording some information. I have had this, I don't know, interest in sepia tone since I was young, more so on the photography side, photographs and things of that nature. And when I started getting into fountain pens a couple of years ago, or well, year and a half ago, I would say, um, I kind of went a bit crazy on the brown inks. One of my first brown inks was actually a sepia ink. So I decided that, yeah, I wanted to share this with you guys. So what is sepia tone? Let's talk about that for a moment. According to the Oxford Dictionary, the definition is a reddish brown color associated particularly with monochrome photographs of the 19th and early 20th centuries. It's a brown pigment prepared from a black fluid secreted by cuttlefish used in monochrome drawing and in watercolors. So it's a drawing done with sepia. According to Wikipedia, cuttlefish or cuttles are marine mollusks of the suborder Sepina. And I should have said mollusks. They belong to the class of cephalopoda or cephalopods, which also include squid, octopuses, and nautiluses. Cuttlefish have a unique internal shell, the cuttlebone, which is used to control, it's used for protection, so to speak. So the ink is stored in their bodies to deceive large predators when they try to attack them. So that is my little brief introduction on sepia and where sepia ink comes from. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And I'll link below a couple of websites that I've used for reference. So let's get started. I want to get started on swatching, and then we'll get into we'll let these dry, and then I'll show you some of the other ink samples I've done of the same inks. So the first ink, which was the very first brown ink that I purchased, and I actually purchased this from Goulet Pens, is a Noodler's ink. And this is Noodler's Nakahama Whalesman Sepia. Just laying some ink down so I can swatch it. And a lot of people are mowing their lawn, so I apologize for any background noise here. Okay, so this is Noodler's. Nakahama, Whalesman, Sepia. And I absolutely adore this ink, although I haven't used it in a while. It also, being Noodlers, is pretty waterproof. I wouldn't say 100%, but close to it. I love brown gray inks, and in an extra fine TWSBI nib that I have, it is like the perfect gray brown for me. However, it writes a little bit dry. So the next brown ink is Platinum Classic Sepia Black. And this is another, this is, I think, considered an iron gall ink. It's water-based dye stuff ink for fountain pens. And it is supposed to be waterproof. I haven't tested it, to be honest, but I have watched other videos on the Platinum Classic inks. I have this one inked up right now in a couple of different pens, so I'm actually going to use one of those pens to write this out. I'll use this. This is an AdMock M800 with an extra fine Bach nib. So I'm going to use that to cut down on some time. Platinum Classic Sepia Black. And this is a beautiful, beautiful ink. I'm enjoying writing with it at the moment. And both of the pens that I have it inked up in. My plan was not to do that, but I was curious to see how it wrote. The next ink is Kobe Ginza Gold Sepia. This ink is so beautiful. I wish this one was waterproof. It's absolutely gorgeous. 2, 3. Yeah. And I have this inked up. Let me grab this pen, and this pen here, Sailor Pro Gear Slim. This has an extra fine nib. So I'm just going to use this Kobe Ginza Gold Sepia. Okay, the next ink is Platinum Pigment Ink Brun Sepia, B-R-U-N, or Brun. This is another permanent ink color. And this color here is, fortunately, I could not find any of the photos, my sepia tone photos that I took way back, I'd say in the 90s, 2000 time frame. I don't know why I just shut that. But this is more like what you'd see in a sepia tone photograph, so to speak. And I wish I could have found some of those. I need to get in the garage, but it's been too hot. So this is Platinum. Now I have inked this one up in a pen. And to be honest, I'm thinking I've only inked it up, I think, in a medium or broad nib. No, I think it was medium. I think it needs a fine or an extra fine for that sepia tone quality. You know, if you're looking to copy that or something similar. So this is pigment ink, brune or brun sepia. Okay, we have two more. The next one is Monteverdi, and it's from the Emotions ink line, Joy. Oh, I hope I wrote it down. Yes. Fountainpennetwork.com has a sepia tone ink comparison where they compare 32 different inks back in December of 2011. 2011. So I am going to link that below because they put so much work into that. That article, and I found it very helpful and fascinating to read as I was kind of going through this journey here. To me, with my history of sepia tone and actual sepia, developing sepia tone photographs and things, this to me, it is not, but it's classified under the inks as a sepia, so I wanted to explore it. And it's a brown ink, so I cannot go wrong with that. The last one is Pilot Sepia, and I only have this, and I think they only make it in an ink cartridge, which I currently have it inked in my Pilot Kakuno with a fine nib. So I'm going to use an ink syringe so I can get a little swatch for you here and record it here. Yeah, I really had a difficult time because even when I first purchased this ink, it was also one of my first sepia purchases because I'm like, oh, awesome, they have an ink cartridge, sepia ink cartridge. This is like burgundy to me. It's definitely red, but it's not like, to me, a red brown, or not ready brown. Clearly, people words. But I had to include it because it's Pilot, number one, and they sell it under a sepia name. So we're gonna let those dry. I think you can tell already what I'm talking about. Let me just pull these up a bit. And I'm gonna set these aside. And I'm going to show you, while those are drying, my Commonplace book. I do not have many articles or things written in here because I pull this out when I'm truly interested and want to research. I guess I'll just flip through it real quick. This is I'm using a Leuchtturm notebook. It's dotted, I believe. Yep. This is my key I have Christian living, health, interests, hobbies, quotes, research, and learning. And I think I'm going to add quote slash book reviews or books or something next to that because I just finished a book and I want to write about it in here, write something. So I think I'm going to add that. So I have currently Bible translation guide, and I have a video on that if you're interested. I have, as a Christian author, is it okay to use fictional religion and magic in writing stories? So I was looking into that. You don't need to know why, but I was looking at that. And then I have a little information on MA7 stamps. I love these stamps, and I just wanted to stamp all my stamps in here that I have from Fomiko, the MA7 Fomiko stamps, and a little bit about it. And I purchased a lot of these, not all of them, from the stationery pocket.com, and they are amazing. I highly recommend that store. And then now Sepia and Sepia Tone, and I read this information to you here, but what I wanted to share with you, which I was super excited about and that I actually read on fountainpennetwork.com, is about this website, fp-hakase or hakase, HAKASE.com. They actually make real sepia ink derived from cuttlefish, and they make it in a light version and a dark version. So the light is going to be a drier ink flow, and the dark provides our wetter ink flow. And the hakase on the website, they actually show a picture, and based on that picture, I would pull it up here for you, and if I can figure it out, I'll put a little screenshot in. I'm not sure if that's going to happen though, to be honest. It's more like these here, the Noodler's Nakahama and the Platinum Classic Black is actually more of what sepia from like real sepia ink looks like from the cuttlefish. So I was like, yay, because those are my favorites. The top three, the darker browns are my favorites. I mean, I like all browns, let's be real, but I was just really excited to see that when I was reading the article on the website. So I'll link that below. So this is one of the first little paper sample of the Onion Skin 34 GSM that I swatched of the inks. And then I swatched directly on the Leuchtturm paper, which it held up well. There is a little bit bleeding from these two inks here, the Bronze Sepia and the Joy Sepia. And then I swatched on this bright white 118 GSM paper. This paper, I don't know why I chose it, to be honest. I might switch it out with something else. This paper is very flat. I do not think it does ink justice at all, and it feathers. On the other hand, this B7 Natural 75 GSM is absolutely gorgeous. I think it showcases all of the inks really well. So I'm almost tempted to purchase a B7 Traveler's Notebook, or 2 or 3 to have and use, but we'll see what happens. So let's see where these are at. They're still drying, and that's okay because I don't want this video to be super long. It's almost 20 minutes already. Yeah, and I love this paper. This is Traveler's lightweight paper. And the Pilot Sepia seems to be taking the longest to dry and bleed. And it did this on the other paper too. So I wish I would have caught that, but that's okay. Yeah, the other ink's fine. So that is my Sepia Ink Exploration. I hope you all enjoyed. What is your favorite just by looking at the colors here? And then if you have a favorite sepia ink that is not on this list, please share it below because there's only one other sepia ink that's not here. It was the Rohrer and Klinger sepia that I've tried. And I used the ink sample up, but I didn't care for it because it was very, very dry. So it's not one that I would purchase a bottle of. All of these inks, by the way, are very wet inks. I know I said this Noodler's was dry in that extra fine, but put it in a fine and it worked wonders. So the Kobe is super wet, Platinum Bronze Sepia is super wet. The Classic Sepia Black is a bit dry, but it has this consistency where it writes almost like a pencil. I don't know how else to explain it. So it doesn't bother me. It actually is like, wow, this is cool. And then the Pilot Sepia is very, very wet and writes well. So I hope that helps. I'm looking forward to your sepia tone ink suggestions. So please leave me comments. Thank you so much for being here today. Sending much love and many blessings.